Hi everyone, Greg here from NintendoFuse.com. We're doing a game chat, and this time we're doing actually I think our first 3DS game. This one is Metroid: Samus Returns. I have Barry joining me today.
Hello, everybody.
The game just came out like a month ago or so. Um, I got the review copy a little bit later than expected, but it did come, and been thoroughly enjoying it over the last couple weeks. Any initial first impressions that you had for
Uh,
the game?
I didn't get mine late. I got the special edition. I got mine on launch day, and to be honest with you, I almost didn't play it. I almost said, you know what, I'm gonna hold off. I actually almost booted up Monster Hunter Stories. I'm like, I need a 3DS game, but something told me let me try Metroid, and just in that initial, just listening to that music, like the music got me right off the bat. I'm like, all right, I gotta play this. Like that's it. I thought it looked beautiful. I did not play it with a 3D on, but I did afterwards just go check it out. And it's gorgeous in 3D. The depth is it's insane how much like the world pops. But yeah, just initially it was just wow. Like the videos you see do not do it justice.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I actually was playing a little bit with the 3D, and then I was like, holy cow, it's just like almost playing like Mario 3D Land, but like a lot more clear and crisp and like looks a lot more precise. Like it's been honed down. Like they've actually been working on it over these years.
Yeah.
So
Now, how far have you gotten in Metroid now?
I literally just beat the boss like an hour ago. The
Oh,
final
the
boss.
final. Now, are you talking the final boss or the extra final boss?
The extra final boss, meaning
Okay. I don't
I
want to
did,
spoil anything,
yeah,
but
I did the full 100%
nice.
through. Um, some of the powers I had to find were kind of interesting because you have to learn a technique that the game doesn't teach you. So
Yeah, there are a few techniques that the game doesn't teach you. The biggest one is the super bomb propelling yourself, which really is annoying because a few of the power ups you need to use that, and the game does not tell you, hey, this is how this works.
yep, that was my main thing with it because it was like I see all these power ups. I'm like, am I missing a major power up? And I was like going through and I would beat like the last Metroid, and then it was like, okay, I think this is the power I need, but nope, I still can't figure this out. And then thankfully Google answered that for me. So
Yeah, the biggest thing were those crystals. That was one of the other things. It was like, how the heck do I break these? And I eventually did because I was on the Queen, and I was like, I must have missed something. I had to have missed something. And then I found out, like, oh yeah, they don't tell you, but yeah, you get that at the very end. I'm like, oh, well, that would be great to know. So if you are a 100%er, you have to get to the very end of the game and then go back. Like, you can't get to the Queen Metroid at 100% or 100% at that point. Like, you need to um, go back afterwards.
yeah, that was kind of one of my gripes with it. Like you really have to like do everything except for the final boss, which obviously we're not going to spoil who it is at the end, but um, I guess most people could probably guess, but we'll leave it up to the imagination.
Well, one other thing that I found interesting, like a lot of these Metroidvania games, to get 100%, not only do you have to get all the items, but you actually have to go everywhere in the map. Meaning you have to hit every single square, even if it's like a top right corner, and you have to fly to it just to touch it. And I was doing that until I realized you don't have to actually do that in this for 100%. And I was like going in the big open areas. I was going like up and down with the screw attack. Like, oh yeah, I got to fill in everything. No, you don't.
Yeah, I did that with Samus's ship earlier on when I was trying to figure out where like this power up was to destroy the crystals.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that I like it and I hate it. Like I like it because it makes it easier to 100%, and I kind of hate it because I wish they tell you that at the beginning so you don't waste your time because it's kind of you know almost a safe assumption with this genre at this point to get 100%. But those are minor gripes, completely minor gripes.
Oh, definitely. Nothing like a form factor there.
No, there's a lot of positives to this game. If you've played 2D Metroids before, if you like Super Metroid, if you like Metroid Fusion, you will like this game. It's hard. It's actually much more difficult than I expected, especially on the bosses. The three big bosses, Diggernaut was a nightmare. The part that was part of the Nintendo World Champions. I don't know if you watched it,
Yeah,
but
I
that part took me. Oh man, that probably took me half an hour because I just kept getting bad luck. I was like, oh my god.
I think I only died like a handful of times on that part of it. The actual like showdown with him, I died like that like at least 100 times. It was really hard.
That one I actually only died maybe five or six. I died more on the Queen. On the Queen Metroid died a lot. Fun fact, and this is pretty sad. Um, I wasn't thinking when I was playing the game, and I got every Metroid killed without using the freeze beam outside of the Metroids at the very end when you have to use the freeze beam, and all the other boss encounters. I used missiles the entire way, missiles and the counter move. I didn't even bother with the freeze beam. Didn't even realize, hey, maybe this could actually be useful until the Queen, and I was like, oh, you know what? Let me try the freeze beam.
I actually didn't use the freeze beam on the queen. I didn't. I initially shot it, but it didn't seem like it did any effect. So I was just pumping it full of missiles.
I did pump it full of missiles the first few times, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's got to be something easier. But the queen is just pattern recognition, and it just takes a while. And even if you know what to do, there are times the screw attack. I've noticed like the screw attack didn't pick up. Like I'd jump and do a screw attack, and it wouldn't go up again. It would fell down to the ground, and I got hit. And I was like,
Well, during the queen battle, those little green orb things were like canceling my screw attack.
yeah. But I did notice if you got hit with a lot of the queen's moves, it also canceled the queen's attack. Like it was like, all right, you got hit, so you don't have to continue, and it's kind of like moved to the next. I don't know if it was a coding bug or if it was coded purposely like that to give you a chance.
There was one live I had where I was really close to the wall, and then she was doing that vacuum push at the wall that was on fire, and I was like, I lost like 4 or 5 full containers of life. But other trials, that like as soon as I hit it, like the fire extinguished and it was done.
Yeah,
So
I've had that too, and that's another thing. Like the enemies hit you hard. Like even if you have full tanks, enemies can deplete. Uh, Now there are some other things like the enemy. Speaking of the enemies, there are only a few enemy types, and then they get the dreaded 8-bit RPG trope of getting recolored.
yeah,
And that happens here, and they're suddenly a little bit more powerful, and they take more shots. Um,
or they're
and they're
immune to your
aggressive.
beam, and then you need to use power bombs.
Yeah, and they're aggressive. The enemies are aggressive in this game, by far. Uh,
Now, did you like using the melee counter at all, like tons, or did you not really use it a lot, or
I used it a lot in the beginning. I thought it was a really neat addition. I used it on every Metroid. But after I got like the wave beam the wave beam was the one that went through the walls, right? Whichever one went through the
yeah?
walls. Once I got that, I just started mowing down things, and they're getting reckless. There were times I went through rooms and I was like, oh man, I totally like should have played it safe. But I was just kind of like in a hurry, like I just knew whatever. Um, but yeah, it's definitely useful. Yeah, I like it. It does slow down the pace, but I don't mind that so much because it's a very atmospheric game, and I do think you do need to slow down and see even like little things like the Federation troops that were sent in the beginning, which they were dead. I mean, that's not a spoiler, but you can see them like in certain points. You could see them lying, like the corpses lying there. I thought that was really neat for
Yep,
world building.
yep, that was a very nice touch. I like that a lot. Like all the different elements and just how everything was like smooth together. And I also liked it wasn't just like a dedicated like fire zone, like the entire and have fun. It was like, oh, this particular corridor is like all fire, and then like, okay, back to the grass, and
I like that I
so
didn't need Adam to tell me to use the Varia suit.
exactly. That's a good step there. Just like in the water, like, oh, you need the gravity suit.
And it is interesting. There is very, very little dialogue. There is a text in the very beginning, and then that's it. There is no text throughout the rest of the game. Everything is shown, and I don't know. It's weird. I'm a defender of Other M. I'm a defender of Other M. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my playthrough. I enjoyed the story. Um, I know some people don't like it. I know some people prefer her to be a silent protagonist. This game, it really helps that she's a silent protagonist. Other M had other characters where being a silent protagonist wouldn't work. Even Link, we don't hear him talk, but he does talk when the villagers talk to him. He is actually talking back. We just don't hear them. He's not mute. So it doesn't make sense when there's other characters. There are no other people you talk to. It is all
Yeah,
you. And I think that's really, really great for the atmosphere and especially for Metroid fans.
yeah, I definitely agreed with everything with what you were just saying. So, yeah.
Now, what about the music? How did you feel about the music? Because I mean,
Oh,
Metroid music is
it's,
awesome.
yes, the music was completely awesome. I loved like hearing as soon as I stepped into the fighter area and just hear that Norfair theme. It was like, oh my God, that is just so like. Thank you for keeping it alive. I love that too.
I love that they do a lot of little touches, a little, some Super Metroid sounds, some Metroid Fusion sounds, some Metroid Prime sounds, as well as original. And I thought it blended really well together. Like it's a very atmospheric game. Now I didn't play it with headphones, but I can see it actually being better with headphones.
Yeah, I think because I don't know. I mean, when I have like my 3DS volume on and I don't have headphones, I feel like I need it like all the way up to like really actually hear it. Like at like half or like three quarters, I feel like I barely even hear the sound.
Yeah, I always turn it. My volume's all the way up or all the way down. Like
It's
there
like
is no in between.
just like the 3D slider, all the way up, all the way down.
Mine's all the way down for the most part. I
Yeah,
can't. I don't have an. I'm not using my new 3DS. I never opened my new 3DS in this case, so I'm still on the XL. So the 3D couldn't do it with.
well, yeah, that's yep. You need the very precise, like has to be one spot, and that's it.
But and it's like no, nope, not doing it. Not doing it.
Yeah, I've found myself not really using the melee counter a lot. After like the first couple Metroids were starting to use like that zapping attack, and I was like, why isn't the melee counter working? And then I was like,
You,
oh yeah, you
you gotta
can't use
wait.
it all the time.
It's pay like some of those Metroids took me 5 minutes to kill simply because it would do like the zap 3 times and then it would come down and wouldn't do anything and then would go up and I'd have to like finally like here it comes down. I'm like, oh my god, I can counter, you know. And it's
Yeah, like
just
those crab-like ones, like I usually always froze those because like then they were like grounded and then they were forced to like charge and I could pump them with missiles while they were pursuing me. So
see, I wish I'd done that. I didn't. Like some of those fights just took me longer than they should have, but you know what? I had fun with it. I didn't try to speed run it. I think I did it in 14 hours total, and that's with a lot of throwing my head against the wall. Why can't I break these crystals? Or how come I can't get this power up that's right there? Not knowing about the power bomb launching you. Like there's one. It's actually right after the Digger Knot, the boss battle, where it's like at the top of a pillar. There's a power up, and you what you have to do is you have to go to the bottom as the morph ball,
yeah,
and the thing about the launching is you actually have to lock on. So if you're on the ground, you actually have to use the spider ball first, then launch it for it to recognize to launch up to the power. I didn't realize that. I was trying to. There's bats in between. I'm trying to freeze them to a point that I could get on them and like use the grapple beam. And I'm like, why can't I grapple on? There's got to be something I could grapple onto because it was just out of sight.
yeah,
I was trying to think outside the box. I clearly thought too much outside the box for the solution to be very simple. But like I probably spent 20 minutes on that. Like I don't want to leave until I get this power up. Why can't I get this power up?
yep.
But
That I even tried like screw attacking up there.
yeah, well you
Just
can't
the
because the
spikes getting
spikes.
owned. Yeah, I still tried it. There was a number of those
Yeah,
sequences. I was like, if I'm a morph ball, maybe I can like fit through and it'll bounce me up there. And I was like, nope.
yeah. I try to figure out. There's got to be a power up that lets you go through the spikes. Nope, nope. The spikes are just a nemesis. You just have to get used to them. But yeah, what did you think about the Aeon abilities? That's another new feature in Metroid: Samus Returns.
I really liked how it's balanced, like with like the actual bar, like those tanks and everything. Obviously at certain points, it seems like you just constantly easily keep them filled, and so like I don't know if that kind of takes it away because you can kind of always have like the armor on to like kind of rush through certain parts, and I don't know. I feel like you keep getting like so much energy back from all the enemies that you kill with the screw attack, especially at the end of the game. But the blaster one, I really didn't use a whole lot except to destroy the things that you needed to destroy it for.
I
Um,
used it on like the very final boss. I used it on that for sure. Just
I needed to
just
use the
kill it
armor
quickly.
because he was killing me a lot. Even with every energy tank in the game, I was still needed the extra life as with the armor.
I was just because like in between phases you actually get Aeon back. So I was just pumping them the first two phases, using it for that.
Yep, that's kind of what I did. So it's usually just refilled. It was basically a free health refill.
Did you now did you scan your amiibo to get the three reserve tanks as well?
I did not. I didn't.
Oh man.
I didn't get the new ones, but I still have Samus
Well,
and Zero
well,
Suit.
two of them are from Samus and
Yes,
Zero Suit.
yeah. I didn't get the new two pack though, but I didn't scan in the existing ones yet.
Uh, okay, so if you scan in, I don't remember what they are, but I know it's the Smash Brothers Samus, the Smash Zero Suit, and the Samus from the two pack. Each one gives you a reserve tank. One is for energy, one's for missiles, one's for Aeon. When you run out, it will refill a little bit. Like energy will give you three tanks back. Aeon will give you about 25% back, and missiles will I don't know how many it gives you because I never ran out of actual missiles. It would kick in when I was using like the super missiles, and it would refill it to complete. Um, so and those you can only refill at stations. Like even if you're full on energy and you get another purple orb, it will not refill that tank. You have to go to stations to refill. But it does give you that little bit of a boost. It's totally optional, but it's neat. The other thing they do is they open up a music player in one, art in another, and I think a different art, like a Metroid 2 Game Boy art gallery. And then the Metroid amiibo, if you do that in the middle of the game, it'll show you where the nearest Metroid is to you. If you're having problems
Yeah,
locating them,
yeah.
and then it's fusion after you beat the game. It's a fusion difficulty. But yeah,
But yeah, there was a few points where I just like returned to the, like that giant circle thing, and then it would tell me where like, the Metroid was, and I was like, I especially used that in like the first two areas because it was like I reached points where like I don't think I can access over there, and then it showed me like the Metroid's over there. I'm like, well, I guess I have to
I
figure out how
guess
to
you
get
have to.
there.
Yeah, this pretty much does the same thing, except you can do it anywhere on the map, anytime you need to.
Well, yeah,
So
it also put like a temporary marker on the map, so it was like, oh, check out this specific area,
yeah,
and then usually it would lead to like like a hidden door or passageway that you didn't think about. But yeah,
I only used it once, just when I was scanning all the. I was halfway through the game. I'm like, let me just use the amiibo, just to see what they do. And that's when I saw that. I was like, oh, it's pretty neat. But yeah, the reserve tanks, like for your file, because they save on your file. If you want, you can do that. And then you have some. It just helps. It makes the game a little bit easier, but it's still not like, oh, handing it to you now. And if you do want to play on hard mode, or definitely fusion mode, I would certainly request, suggest you get those tanks,
oh,
just for a
yeah.
fighting chance.
Now, are you gonna play through the game on hard mode?
Nope, 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 nope. I'm done. I put the game back in the box, the special edition box. It was going to go on my shelf with my other 3DS games, and I will maybe go back and revisit it down the road. I have way too many games on my backlog. It's not that the game doesn't warrant a second playthrough, it's that I don't have the time for the second playthrough, especially with Odyssey right around the corner. By the time you're watching this, it's right around the corner. And there's other games that I'm interested in, like South Park is right around the corner. And of course, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is right after Odyssey, and there's Fire Emblem Warriors, and it's just too many games. So I don't have the time. I want to, but I think it's one of those things where as a kid I would have done it because I like to challenge myself, and as an adult I prefer to just play games on the easier difficulty, just to play through, to experience it for the story, just because time is so precious, and I don't have time
Yeah.
to sit there and struggle against like insanely difficult trial and error things. I'd just rather just enjoy and experience it. What about you? You gonna go back?
I would definitely not, because like you, it's be like, oh, here comes Fire Emblem, here comes Odyssey, here comes Skyrim, here.
If Fire Emblem's in 10 days and Mario Odyssey is in 17 days, just over
Yeah.
2 weeks away.
I mean, I actually felt like the normal difficulty was actually pretty challenging. I
It
mean, I
was.
I did die quite a number of times, so if it was something where I didn't die a single time, then like, heck, I'll let me try hard mode. That was probably more up my alley. But since it was like, oh well, I really suffered a lot. I mean, like let's make it even harder.
And you know what? And if that's what you want to do, then the game offers that. I know some people don't like the fact that fusion mode is locked behind DLC. But if the amiibos did nothing, then there would be no point in owning them. So they need to give them a purpose. I don't think it's a deal breaker. Besides the fact, if you're a Metroid fan, I don't care. You would want those Metroid amiibo just for the statues alone. Like they're so cool looking. So to me, it's a non-issue.
Yeah, to me as well. I mean, I just need to pick them up.
And I know they were sold out like really quickly, but they are producing more. It's not like you do not pay scalpers prices; they will come out. In fact, I've seen them in stores since. So yeah, just stay with it.
Yeah, it's just like the Almond Salka ones. Those like sold out initially, and then I was like, okay, boom, like huge supplies come in, and now they're like still on store shelves. So
I've still seen even like the Goomba and the Koopa on shelves
I haven't
since
been there
yesterday.
since they released. So
Yeah, I've been to several stores since, and like I've seen like GameStop. One GameStop had like one of each left, and then another one had five of each left. So the amiibo craze is gone. You can, and in this case, there are going to be more. In fact, there are a lot of the special editions out there of Metroid. I was very pleasantly surprised to see so many special editions.
uh, Nintendo didn't send me a special edition. I wanted it.
Ah man, well, beggars can't be choosers, as they say. At
Yeah,
least they sent you a physical copy.
yes, they did, and that'll definitely be a game that I hold on to forever. I don't trade in games that I enjoy this much like this. So
Now here we have you played all the Metroid games?
yes, there's two that I haven't. Well, I guess.
I like how you
Well,
answer yes and then well. There's only the answer is no. I've played all, but
well, I guess it's more of a complicated question. I mean, because I've never played Zero Mission, but it's a remake of the first one.
all right. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So it's like I beat the first one. I 100%ed the first one. I didn't play the remake. I
That's
played
that's
Fusion.
fair.
I played Fusion. I enjoyed that. It was a great game.
So
Played.
what I want to know is where would you place this? Let's leave the Prime games out. Let's leave the 3D Metroid out. Let's just talk 2D. Where would you place this with the original Zero Mission, the original Metroid 2, Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion?
I actually think I liked Super Metroid a little bit more than this one. I think this one's right underneath Super Metroid, which is my top one for 2D.
Yeah, I think the thing that draws a Super Metroid is that it's very very non-linear in a lot of sense, and this game is a more linear structure, just like the original Metroid 2, just like Fusion is a more linear, and Other M. That was one of the criticisms of Other M
Yeah.
is linear, and you know what? There are other Metroids that are linear. This is linear in the sense that you have to go zone to zone to zone, but there's a lot of exploration within each zone.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Super is my number one. I think this is probably if it's either number two and Fusion three, or Fusion is two and this is three, with Zero Mission right below that. It's really tough to tell. I guess it depends on which side of the bed I woke up uh, on two and three. But yeah, it's up there. I know a lot of people were concerned about Mercury Steam because they didn't like the Castlevania Lords of Shadow series. I, for one, enjoyed the Lords of Shadow series. I enjoyed Mirror of Fate on the 3DS. Have you played Mirror of Fate on the 3DS?
I have, and I beat it, and I loved it.
Okay, I was gonna say if you haven't, I would totally check it out after playing this because it's the same studio. But yeah, I did too. I loved the story of Mirror of Fate. I loved the gameplay. So I had no reservations hearing that was Mercury Steam, and I think if it was announced like Nintendo's partnering with Mercury Steam again for a brand new, because they stated no more remakes, brand new 2D Metroid, I don't think people would have a problem with it after this. I think this proved that they can handle it.
I would definitely agree. Yeah. My
Uh,
main criticism why I would think Super is a little bit higher is because I felt like it's like a number of areas we were just getting like, okay, boom, ice beam, okay, boom, spider ball, okay, boom, spring ball. It was like power up after power up without like any like bosses. Like it was like all so close together. It was like
but then there were also droughts. There were like some zones where there was nothing, and it was like, oh man, I haven't gotten anything. I don't mind power ups with no bosses. I mean, to me, that's fine.
yeah,
It's the expo. To me, Metroid. I never thought of Metroid about the bosses. I mean, Kraid and Ridley and Mother Brain. I mean, they're iconic bosses, but I never thought about when I hear Metroid. I don't think bosses. I think exploration,
yeah.
and for me, I don't mind finding a power up by
But yeah,
exploring.
I just felt like the power up by exploring was a lot more like spaced out. I mean, obviously you had to go all the way down to Norfair, get the high jump boots, then you have to go all the way back up over here to get like super missiles, go over here to get the charge beam. It wasn't like all in a condensed on the
No,
same map. So, but
no.
uh, yeah,
There are a lot of power ups too in this game. So it's not like it's like, oh, there's 5 power ups and we're done. No, there is a lot. It is, as far as I'm concerned, I would recommend you play this game. Like if you were even remotely interested in 2D Metroid, uh,
oh,
yeah.
yep, definitely strongly agree with that. I would definitely say it's worth everybody's time.
And if your only Metroid before this is Federation Force, definitely pick this up without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, you haven't experienced real Metroid then.
Yeah, that's the only one I have not played is Federation. Well, I guess Zero Mission and Federation Force. So the two that I have not played.
It's just, I kind of wonder how this would do on the Switch. What do you think? Would you, if this was released instead of a 3DS, if this was a Switch game, physical cart, 2D Metroid, this game exactly on there as tied over for Metroid Prime 4. Do you think it would have done as well, or do you think it will, as this has done? I don't know the total sales figures or anything on Samus Returns. I don't think they've released that yet. But do you think it would, in the long run, do you think it would do better on the Switch versus the 3DS?
Well, and hmm, I'd like to think it would. It, I don't know. I feel like it obviously could do better on the 3DS because it's more of an established console. But I also feel like on Switch it would be definitely like that top tier type game where like it would still sell gangbusters. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge because it's early in the console versus late in the console's life cycle. So
I
if it was like an early 3DS title, which obviously it can't be, obviously I think it would have been a lot better on Switch. But since the 3DS has been established, whatever 6, 7 years, it's a lot more people to sell it to.
I really agree there. I think the 3DS install base is too large, and this is the 3DS's swan song year. That's not to say there won't be games in 2018. We already know there's games coming. I do not think I do not think 2018 will be a big year for the 3DS. I think it will be the end. I think this is the swan song. This is the last Pokemon. I'd be surprised if the next Pokemon is, they already said one is coming to Switch. I'd be surprised if it also comes to 3DS. Fire Emblem Warriors, I think, is thrown to the 3DS because they can, and it's an extra game. I don't think the next Fire Emblem Echoes is going to be on the 3DS. I think that's going to move to the Switch.
Yeah,
And
they already said Echoes was the last one on 3DS.
Yeah. It's the same with everything. Like, hey, Pikmin. Like, a lot of these games have been in development for a while. This game wasn't just overnight. This game's been in development for a while. To switch it to the Switch, which sounds weird, would take a little bit of time, and it's just easier to get it out. But I do hope they make another 2D Metroid. I do think it will be on the Switch. I do think this is going to be the last year for the 3DS, and it's great to see Metroid there, which is kind of fitting because if this is the last year of the 3DS, at least big year, I don't see Nintendo launching another handheld next year. The Switch just came out. I see them moving to everything on the Switch, uh, at least for the foreseeable future. And if that's the case, it's kind of poetic because the DS line launched with Metroid Prime Hunters. First Hunt was the pack-in demo for the DS, and on the Swan Song year, the end of the Swan Song year for the 3DS, the closing book, you get Metroid Samus Returns. I think that's really poetic. Don't think they did it on purpose, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, they could always like, oh, here's the 3DS Nintendo Direct, and here's the games coming in to
You know what? And
2018.
they could. And I think it depends this Christmas. I think if the 3DS sells gangbusters this Christmas, and they feel there's a market, Nintendo will keep making games for the 3DS. There are already some game announcements that people are baffled. The biggest one is Mario Party. Mario Party, the top 100, that would have been amazing on the Switch. Maybe they'll bring it. Um, but this one, people seem to accept in the 3DS. There is one thing we failed to talk about, and I do want to address it quickly before we end. Is the eight, the full 360 degrees aiming versus the eight directional that we were used to. How did you feel about having that full control and being able to aim?
I thought it was very helpful for some parts, but I never really used it like in the boss battles and stuff. So it was mostly just like, oh, it's having me hang from a ledge. I gotta shoot a missile over there. I gotta shoot a super missile at this one. I mean,
Really? See, I found myself stopping a lot in boss battles and aiming like directly, even on the queen, like directly at the mouth and firing at the precise angle. Like I loved it.
I felt like I was too open to get hit with attacks. So I was,
I found when I aimed like up and like to the left, for example, I would be walking forward too, and I didn't want to walk into the queen, so this stopped me from walking forward. And there were times, I'd shoot twice and I'd move and then shoot and then move, and it probably wasn't the most graceful way of doing it, but I used it a lot. I thought it was a neat feature and a welcome addition.
yeah, I definitely welcome addition. I mean, I didn't really use it too much in Super Metroid with like the force like angled aiming, but obviously there are
Uh,
its practical uses too. So
there is one kind of weird omission that it's there, but it's there in a weird way. Is the wall jump? It's never really utilized, and you can't wall jump off the same wall like you can in other Metroids. Um, I thought that was kind
I
of weird.
I used it to climb a couple of the areas that, like, obviously you could use this space jump through, but I didn't have it at the time. There was a couple areas I discovered by just wall jumping.
Yeah, there were some areas you could do that, and also using the bomb jumps, but there weren't a lot. Like if you never wall jump and if you never bomb jump, you could pretty much get through the pretty much the entire game. I think except for the one area in the beginning where they tell you how to wall jump, and that you have to wall jump. I think you can get through the entire game without ever
I,
using those two abilities.
I definitely got a couple of the power ups early and unlocked like some areas without just using the bomb jump. I was surprised
Yes,
at how good I was at it.
but that again, that is a skill. Like bomb jumping is not easy. So if you've never played Metroid, and you think, maybe you got lucky, but bomb jumping is a skill.
It was definitely the one area that was an area with the red spikes that actually like bomb jumped up all the way through, and then I turned on the spider ball as soon as I was passing the spikes. I'm like, come on, grab something, grab solid
Oh
ground.
man, that's cool.
So there's
Yeah, I didn't
not
do that.
tons of them. There's like other ones that have like those jets that suck your bombs, and
I hate
there's
those jets.
like other ones that you couldn't do it because you're like it was like in water and you didn't have the gravity suit and stuff like that. So
That's another thing. Those jets, like I was like waiting for a power up to stop those jets, and there's nothing. Like the jets are constant. You can't stop them.
I did like those segments where you got to use the grapple beam to like block the jet, like when you pulled the thing to the side, but that was kind of very small and not underutilized, I felt.
Well, I thought the grapple beam was interesting because it wasn't just used to get you from point A to B, but it was actually used to solve some of those puzzles, be either pulling and pushing or literally ripping out um, a
Well,
cork
yeah,
kind of thing.
but give it practical use because obviously you get the space jump, you don't need to use the grappling beam.
Nah, the grapple beam becomes useless, and once you get the space jump and the screw attack, and forget about it. Like like that alone is just so powerful. You master the screw attack and space jump, and you could just kind of just go through the whole game.
Any other closing thoughts you had on the game? I know
No,
at some points we got a couple sidetracked, but
you know what? That's cool. That's part of this, this discussion, and I hope it engages, our listeners and our watchers. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you think about Metroid, Samus Returns, and or any of our, or even our offshoots, our little offshoots? If you have comments on those, I'd love to hear what you think. But no, in terms of closing, I have nothing. Just buy this game. Like, support Metroid. Don't buy it just to support Metroid, but buy it and give it a chance. But by doing that, you are supporting Metroid, so it doesn't go back in the closet like a dirty redheaded stepchild for a long time.
Yeah, you can easily complete the game 100%. Like 15 hours was my time, a little bit over
Yeah.
15, but I know there was a lot. I did a lot of playing around with the bombs and
Yeah, and
unnecessary stuff that I should have
there are
just given
people
up
who
on.
beat it over under 4. I mean, if you want to rush through, but if you want to take your time, it's a good take your time. And it's not one of those games where it's like, oh, I'm going to forget where I am if I put it down for a couple days. You can still put it down for a couple days and come back in. It's easy enough to figure out where you're going. And you know what? If you're lost and you just explore, that's the point of the game. It's an
Exactly.
exploration game. But yeah.
Use that. Use your Aeon sensor. It helps you out. It'll help reveal the map.
Yep. And if you really want to know, you get the Metroid amiibo to help you find your way.
All right, so this was our game chat on for Metroid Samus Returns. Stay tuned to NintendoFuse.com for all the latest news, podcasts, and we got an industry talk coming up. Hopefully next week we'll see. We'll let you guys know more about that as we get that set up. Take care,
Yep.
guys.
Have a good one.